Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. It is time for another Mystery Box Monday episode. And if you don't know what that is, let's just dive straight in and talk about it. So if you're new here, I've been doing this series for a little while. I have this box that I purchased more than a year ago from a store that was going out of business online, and it's just a random box of stuff at a deep, deep discount, and I have no idea what's in this box. So each episode, I reach into the box, trying not to let my sense of touch sway my decisions, and I'm definitely not looking at any of this stuff. So I pull out 3 products, and I'm going to put these to use on a project unscripted. So I have 2 stencils here, and the stencils I think go together okay. But then I've got this cow doodle pop from Doodlebug, and I'm not big into the cutesy style, and I don't use doodle pops, and so my brain wandered, and I can't share that with you on video, but here is what I came up with. I decided to use the cow to create a punny title for a card. And I'm going to create this card base with plenty of mixed media to use up those stencils, and then kind of making the cow the focal point. So you saw me kind of go through all of these supplies, but we'll talk about each step as we go. All right, I pulled out my folder of masking tape for when I'm doing mixed media or inky techniques, and I'm going to mask off this card into portions of thirds eventually. And I will do different things to each third, including using this extra stamp set that I pulled out. It had a speech bubble on it, which is why I pulled the stamp set, so I could get my cow to have that punny phrase, which we'll get to that later. But I found other stamps on that stamp set that I'm going to add into this. And the first step I'm going to do is to make a very dark zone with that stencil, and then I can very gently and lightly over ink it with the exact same ink color. I'm using 1 ink pad for the entirety of this card. And there we go. I've got 1 panel of my card ready to go. So instead of using pattern papers or something like that to create a project, I'm just going to use the various stencils in here and different mediums to do that. Now, as I put my card back into place with more masking tape, I am using my grid mat there to help me keep things aligned, and that is why I'm loving this grid mat. It helps keep my surface cleaner and helps keep everything as straight as I can get it. I'm never perfect. So the next section is going to be this texture paste. And at first I thought I was just going to do it white. And this is where I decide I want to go with a monochromatic card and really play up the ink pad color that I used in the first zone with the stenciling. So I mixed just a little bit of that same ink into my stencil paste. Now I should have used a different surface for mixing because that parchment paper isn't that great for that. But at any rate, I do get it going on, and I mix up more than I need, and I'll use that on a scratch piece for something else later. But as you can see from my taping, I don't make too big of a mess here, so it's pretty easy to clean. Now here's a tip on stencil paste. If you put plastic wrap over the top and push it all the way down to the actual paste, that will help your paste last longer. If you leave any air bubbles in there, that's going to help your paste dry out over time. All right, well, I was explaining that, I've started stamping in my third zone, and I'm using a house stamp because I'm going to make this a moving card. And now that you know that it's a moving card, you can probably guess at what my punny title is going to be for my cow. So I am doing a 2nd gen stamping here with this house so that I get 1 bold house, and then the other houses kind of represent the history of where you used to live, and the new house represents where you're moving to. So off screen, I did a bunch of stamping and die cutting that's going to go with my title, and I have this little tiny alpha set from My Favorite Things, I believe. I'll pop that up on the screen if I'm wrong. And I'm going to continue using this stamp set, which has another phrase on it that says thinking of you. So I've filled in the rest of that with on your move. I'm not a terribly punny person most of the time, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So the only way I could think of to make this cow work was to come up with a pun, and that's the pun I thought of because I do have a friend who is moving soon for the gazillionth time. Her husband is in the military, and so they've moved a lot. And hopefully they're getting close. They're getting close to the end of their military moving life, and so I want to send her a card to wish her well with this next to last move for them. At any rate, I am separating out those three zones of my card with a little bit more detail. I'm using more of that gray stock cardstock, which I used to die cut my title. And now the upper title that says on your, I glued vellum to my gray cardstock before die cutting those letters so that it would be a more light monochromatic version of that dark gray, which is what I'm using here to spell out the word moo and move. And I have added, I think I fit 3 O's in there, so it goes with my cow just fine. And I'm gonna glue that to my speech bubble, and that will be my cow. That will make the cow make the best sense on this card as possible. And because I'm not a huge cutesy person and my friend isn't really either, I am trying to decutesify this cow just a little bit by using this monochromatic teal and gray color scheme. Brings a little more modernity to it, and then adding this floral stamp that I put behind the cow's head kind of frames out the cow, and then I'm doing more inking to finish off the edges. So I'm kind of toning down the cutesiness of the cow, even though I'm still using that pun, to try and fit the style better. So why do this at all? Why use a cow on a project if I have no interest in these cutesy images? And the whole reason I do this project is, one, it's just silly and fun, and that I do enjoy a lot. And two, when you're faced with something challenging, it helps your brain go to more creative places if you're practicing this kind of creative thinking. So that wraps up this video for you. I hope you enjoyed the silliness and that you'll come back for future Mystery Box Monday videos. And until then, have an artful day.